everyone to some more Maplestory. Today will just be a casual, level grinding day. Well, not really much level grinding, as it's more like getting EXP, because, well, being level 242 is, trying to get to the next level is very time consuming. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna put this on my character now, because I will need it. And, let's get buffed, and go to a map in this area. I did not mean to press that button. Anyways, let us go to a place where it has a burning stage of level 10. Should be something like this, maybe. Maybe. Here we go. First, let's go get the relic. Rune. Okay, we'll use that one for now. Okay. Okay. And I'll be doing this for like 2 hours. Well, pretty much talk about other stuff. Not the first time I've done this. I have done this multiple times already, but kind of want to remind that I do this sometimes on stream. Anyways, and also right before I started recording, I was looking through the Maple achievements, which, to be honest, is not really that important because it's just for like achievement stuff. It's like to feel the achievement of doing something in the game. But I still check through it anyway. And I still wonder, what are the question mark ones supposed to be? Because apparently I don't think they're supposed to be question marks, but they are, so. Oh yeah, and I will be doing this a lot. Because I need more of the AoE skill used. At least I'm getting a lot of EXP out of all this. And also, when you're over level 240, or just over level 200 in general, it is very much a good idea to always do everything you can to get enough EXP. Because, well, the simple reason that it's obviously very difficult to level up. I'm more surprised that some people actually managed to get to 250 within a month, and I'm like, how are you guys able to do that? It's like, for me, obviously, it's impossible. I'm like, how are some people able to do this? I still wonder to this day, like, how is it possible? It's like you have to have a lot of time on your hands to, level your character up that much. Oh no, I have this to do. Okay, let's just get some of this. So we still need to get EXP. Any little bit counts, because I really wanted to get a lot of EXP on this on my main, so I could get to a very high level. At least the level curve is, changed a bit. Like, that's what I know. Yeah, it definitely has, because I know for a fact that, I barely got, 1% of EXP, before the update every day from grinding. So, obviously when it was the previous level, how many hand inches? Oh yeah, and also, yesterday I finally caught up with the webcomic It's Castle Swimmer, I think. Is that the title? Yes, it is. It's called Castle Swimmer. It's on Webtoons, if people don't know. I hope people know what I talk about, because I talk about webcomics a lot, and I always feel like I'm the only one who reads them whenever I stream. I know there's a lot of people who read it, because there's so much feedback on every update. Anyways, the point being, I caught up with it, and to clarify, I've only caught up with the free updates, because I don't use FastPass at all on Webtoons. And the reason is, like, when I think of FastPass, it's like, once you started for a story, you can't, like, go back. You can't, return to reading a normal, like, free update, again. Because it's like, it feels like, because it feels like, how do I put this? It's like, once you use the coins, like, you still have to spend coins for later updates. That's, like, the thing. And, like, it's not a bad thing if it's supporting the creator. I'm also realizing I'm probably shouting into the mic. It's like, it's not bad to support the creator, but it's also like, it's also like, but if I start using FastPass, I can't return to normal free updates because I will have to wait ages for the new one if I read it for free again. So that's why I never use FastPass. Because I think that's how it works. Because it's not like, oh, you use coins once and you get every single update afterwards, like, you know, ahead of time. But I don't think that's how it works. Hello. I'm just thinking about webcomics. On Webtoons. Anyways, the point being, like, I don't use FastPass on Webtoons, so when I read webcomics, I do not know anything about the updates that are already on FastPass. So, yeah, I do have to be careful talking about some stories because I would not want spoilers for the ones I read that have FastPass. Which is pretty much most of the webcomics I read on the platform. Except for... Okay, there's at least like 2, but it's primarily 1 because, this other one I read doesn't really have much updates anyway. Oh yeah, I just remember. I didn't catch up on this, one of the ones that don't have FastPass yet. I mean, at all. If I'm right, only webcomics that are, like, on the, I forgot how their system works, but it's like the ones that are on like a daily schedule, like strict weekly schedule. Like those ones have FastPass. But like the ones on Canvas do not. Anyways, the point being, I have caught up with the webcomic Castle Swimmer, and every single time I'm trying to say the title, my mouth cannot say castle for some reason. No idea why. Yeah, I've been enjoying the story so far. And I think it's at the point of the story where there's a bit of backstory. And I'm like, oh no, I see where this is going. I think everyone does, because a lot of people agree that it's like, ah yes, it's this. And it's like, yeah, I could see it. There was a knife. And I'm like, oh no. Anyway, all this in a flashback. But still. And also I learned that, the species that they base the characters on in these recent chapters is from, like, an endangered species in real life. I'm like, oh no! Because there's, like, only, like, less than 20 left in the world, and I'm like, I hope there's, you know, words, I'm bad at words, but I hope, like, you know, they don't go extinct. I like fish. I don't eat fish. I mean, I do, but I don't like eating it. Anyways, this other story I read, but I think at this point I'm gonna stop reading it because I don't feel too interested in reading more of it. Like, I did enjoy it, but it's like, it gets to like points where I'm just, like, it gets so tense that I'm like, I don't think I can handle this anymore. There's only so much I can handle when it comes to stuff that's like tense. Okay, let's go to the portal. Because I want to get as much EXP as I can. I have been getting quite a bit of EXP, but that's probably because the level curve changed. I mean, yes, I'm using EXP buff items, but like before, like they kind of adjusted the curve between 240 and 50. Like, I did not get like a good amount of EXP at all. Oh, that's interesting. Anyways, yeah, because before the Neo updates, I was like level 241, freshly level 241 since I just got to that level at some point. Well, actually, I leveled to 240 normally, and then I used a EXP potion to get to 241. And then while grinding, I did the same method, like buffs and all that, like the things. And prior to the update, it, like, a day of grinding was, like, not really a day, but it's, like 30 minutes to an hour of grinding for me. Like, before, like, level 240 was, like, about, like, 2 to 5% EXP. But, like, after, like, at level 241, before the update, it was, like, 1% or less than 1%. It was, like, eh. But now, like, with the curve adjusted again for, like, 240 to 50, it's been much more easier to get EXP again, so. And yes, like, leveling is, like, a lot easier. Although I still struggle, like, with getting to level 200 because there's some things in the game that makes it so hard for me to level from 180 to 200. Actually, it's more like 170. Like, when I reach that point, it's like, grinding kind of gets boring to me. And it's also, I want to focus on my main because I want to get my main to, like, an even higher level in the game. And also, hopefully, with this, like, adjustment to the EXP curve, I should be able to do Tenebris Part 1 within this year. If I get to 245 quickly. Should be possible. Oh yeah, the max level is 300 now. And I don't think any server like universally, which includes like KMS, like has gotten to level 300 yet, I think. I'm pretty sure none have reached that level yet. Obviously, some people reach 275, but I don't think anyone has reached level 300 yet. When am I start playing this burning and he's 231? Oh my gosh. That's insane. And then here I am, who hasn't really played so much, like, over the years. And it took me so long just to get to at least level 230. Although I will say last year was a bit different because I started last year being level 220 and I actually managed to get to 230 within like 8 months of on and off gameplay. This is my niece class game. Yeah. Yeah, thinking about it, it does depend on the class picked. I'm still not over that. There has been a few people, like when Ho Young was released, Was it near the end of 2019? I forgot. Actually, it has to be because I remember being level 220 with the Glory update. Like when Hoyoung was released, someone managed to get to like level 250 so quickly, and I'm like, how is that possible? Especially like with the arcane symbol stuff. It's like, how did they deal with that? I get the whole like it's possible to transfer arcane symbols, but still, it's like that's insane. Oh, there goes Nightbot. Wait, did I change? Oh yeah, I did change the message in Nightbot, so it's like not specifically mentioning days. Because I have learned that I don't really keep a consistent schedule with streaming, especially since I'm still a college student, university student. At the moment, I'm not taking classes, so I can stream as many times, like a week-ish. Get rid of this enemy quickly. What else? Okay, I'm trying to think of something else and nothing's coming to mind a little bit. I really should try to get to 9999 combo at some point, because I have not even achieved that in the game. Because every single time I get past 4,000, I just get lazy and I'm like, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. So I should really try that at some point. Of course, I'm not gonna do it on stream because it's gonna be probably like 3 to 4 hours of playing the game. It took me 2 hours to get 5k. Yeah. Yeah, it took me about the same time too. And then I got lazy and I was like, I can't keep this up for like another hour. I really have to try it because I haven't even done that yet. And I'm hearing planes outside my house. Is that it? Not really. There's achievement to getting like 9,999 combo. But it's like nothing really special. It's just there for like achievement stuff. Yeah. Also, speaking of achievements, like the Maple achievements, I've been like looking at it like a few times. And also I looked through it like before I clicked record. And I'm still like wondering, like, how like just like for the Black Mage boss fight achievements, it's insane how like some of them is like deal the most damage as this character, and it's like the game expecting people, like if they really want to get this achievement, to level that specific character to 255 and fight the Black Mage. And as I know, obviously that boss fight is not easy, because only very few people have actually achieved it. So yeah, interesting. Also, anyways, something outside of Maplestory. I didn't mention it in my stream yesterday a few times, but during the weekend, I've watched a movie that Funimation added like added on their website. And called A Stranger by the Shore, and I really enjoyed that movie. I will say it got me flustered a bit at like some points because it was cute, and I also cried a few times. And I don't think I could say more than that. Because I want more people to watch it because it deserves to be recognized and experienced. And ever since Saturday, which was when I watched it, I cannot stop thinking about it. I'm gonna get rid of this enemy real quick. Okay, there we go. Anyways, and also, like, after I watched that movie, I started to think about something, and I'm like, for certain scenes, I wonder how voice actors are able to record certain lines. I mean, not the negative ones, more of like, just like something is like, you wouldn't normally, like, not like something like negative, it's more like something is like, it's a moment where like you have to make certain like vocal sounds into a microphone. And like, as someone who's going to be a voice actor one day, I cannot imagine how it must feel to like record those kind of lines. Because I'm like, how much effort has to be put in for someone to do that and be able to do it successfully for the recording. And of course I told myself it's definitely a lot of effort, but still, like, the more I think about it, I'm like, if I were to voice something where I had to make lines like that, and I'm not saying I would, but like, theoretically, if there's a situation where that happens, I'm like, I don't think I could do it. Just because I'm like, I don't think I ever want to do that in any time during my voice career. And I feel like this should be noted down because, like, imagine it in the future. Like, I say this now, but then in the future I end up voicing something like that. And, yeah. But yeah, it's just something I've been thinking about since I watched that movie because I'm like... Because, like, I also know that in anime, voice acting, like, certain, like, specific scenes always have to be done in one take. Obviously, there is, like, that hidden, like, small moment where they can just stop recording and then resume. But it's, like... But in, like... What's a good example? Like, a good example is, like, in ReZero, there was, like, the scene, and I know something in the English dub that, Sean Chiplock, like, for one scene, he, like, in season 1, he had to do, like, this whole scene in a single take. And it was, like, so exhausting to do because it's, like, when, the character he voices is, like, crying a lot and, like, saying all these things. And so it's, like, kind of like that. It's, like, something where you have to do it in a single take, and if you mess up, you have to do it again. There's, like, no excuse. Like, it has to be done, like, in a single take. I just think about this a lot because it's the same for regular acting. Yeah, I know that, but it's like, specifically for voice acting, it's like, it's like, I don't know, I just can't imagine, like, having to make these noises in a microphone for, like, a certain amount of time in a booth. It's more like I just think about that specificness, like specific, acting in particular. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't know, I've just been thinking about it a lot just because it's like, I can't imagine myself making such noises if I'm, like, once I, like, become a voice actor at some point in the future. Of course, I'll probably have to have a lot of voice acting experience before I even consider, like, ever being at that point. But like I just think about it and I'm like, I can't imagine that. And it's also like, I mentioned anime dubbing specifically because I know in video games, like because of dialogue boxes and all that, you don't have to do everything in one take. Like a single take, like you start the recording and you don't stop until it's done. Like that's what I am familiar with. And I also know anime dubbing, like voice acting in general, is a lot of work. More than video games, I think. Have you done any acting? No. Like, I don't have, like actual, like, experience with acting. I do want to be a voice actor at some point. I have been, like, reading, like, I have checked out a website that someone made of, like, good tips. And so far, I think I've been, like, doing well with half the points they made. But I also had to take, like, classes to, like, be able to, before I could take the next step. And the issue is I have no idea where, like, acting classes would be where I live. I think there is, like, somewhere I live, but, I had to, like, check it out and make, like, confirm, like, know the details of first. And also, there's also the thing where I don't have a lot of time, like, on my hands because of university and all this stuff going on. And also, I still want to get, like, a university degree because I know that, like, voice acting does not completely pay the bills, so you would have to obviously have, like, another job on the side to support yourself. So... I'll think more about it, like, later. Because I really want to start, like, getting the training done so I could, at least, like, start auditioning for stuff for the first time. And also, I think because of, like, you know, everything that's happened over the past year, like, there's been more, like, people getting in, like, being, like, in voice acting because of, like, circumstances. I'll figure it out at some point. Or rather later. I'll figure it out later. Anyways, this all just stemmed from me thinking about how, like, voice actors are able to do, like, these lines. That are... I don't know, like, something... Like, just, like, how would you be able to voice that stuff? In a booth, and, like... Cause... The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't want to think about this too much. Because the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm remembering that scene from the movie, and I'm like, I know it's not the only thing I think about. I think about the other moments that made me cry and feel emotion and all that, but I never expected them to actually kind of like, okay, it's hard to say they showed anything because it's censored, but the fact that I had to hear the voice actors make these noises made me really flustered while watching the movie, so I'm like, okay. Other than that, it's still an amazing movie. I like it. I want to see it again, but it's only been like a few days. I usually wait a few months before I watch a movie again. So anyways, okay, changing its subject. I'm trying to think of what else I've been like reading or something recently. Oh right, I was talking about webcomics a bit. Okay, I already mentioned that I caught up with a webcomic called Castle Swimmer. And Oh yeah, I should also mention that sometimes my mic kind of cuts off. Well, not like randomly. It's more like if I touch the microphone cord by accident in a way. So if I cut off, I may have like accidentally touched my microphone cord and messed that up. Anyways, so yeah, I've been reading webcomics more recently. Like, I got into a few of them. I finally caught up with one called Castle Swimmer because, obviously I started reading that like a couple weeks ago, and only been reading it in like bits and pieces because there's a lot of chapters already available. Well, not as much. I mean, compared to Tower of God, which I started reading back in 2018. Which took 2 weeks to catch up because at the time was like 400 updates, I think. This one was like easier to catch up on, but I read it slower, so I took my time. And while I was reading Castle Swimmer, I also got into another webcomic because I kept seeing it advertised so much on Webtoons. And I was like, okay, what is this? I keep looking at it on the front page, and I was like, I want to see this. Called Ghost Lights, I think. And it's one posted on Canvas, which I don't mind because I don't care where I read the webcomics on Webtoons. And oh right, my buffs disappeared. And Ghost Lights is an interesting story so far. And I like how it's also a slow burn romance as well. Because I like slow burns. I don't like when romances are too quick. Actually, it's more like it depends. I don't like stories where it's like you meet someone and it's like, okay, immediate fall in love at first sight. It's like there's more layers to it. Like they actually got to know each other a little bit first, and then it's like, yeah. Actually, for the most part, it depends, because some stories kind of are exceptions to that for me. And it's mainly because of how well written it is. It's more like it depends on how well it's done, I guess. I think that's the easiest way to say it. It's like, I'm okay with any progression as long as it's not poorly written. Yeah. Yeah, as long as the romance is well written and yeah. Because I feel thinking about it, it's didn't I kind of experience a story where the romance the characters know each other and all that? Although the difference is it's just 3 years before they end up actually being together, so it's it kind of wavers for me a little bit. It depends. But for the most part, as long as it's well written, it's I can accept it. Because if it's not well written, it's not a good story. Not at all. No. I have no idea what I'm talking about anymore. Anyways, so basically I started reading a webcomic recently called Ghost Lights. I'm reading it slower because the updates are slow. Although, it won't take too long for me to catch up with it. And I've been enjoying it. The story's really interesting, and I do want to see more of its updates. I haven't caught up with it yet, because I'm taking my time reading the pages. Reading the updates. I would say pages, but in actuality, how they formatted their story is that it is pages attached to each other. So it's yeah, so it's in the format of Webtoons still. This quickly. I'm pretty at 9% of EXP, and it's only been 40 minutes. I started to stream with 5%, so... Anyways, for the most part, I think for the most part, love at first sight stories are like, to me. Like, immediate romance? No, but if it's like romance where it's like, at least like the characters meet and like, you know, get to know each other at least like a little bit, or like, acquaintances, then it's, yeah. Have you tried playing a Reboot ever? I have played on Reboot. But I don't play it on it often. But I have created a character on there. I mainly prefer the main server because, like the non-Reboot server, because I have created all my characters on here and I don't want to like play so much on Reboot because I put so much effort on this other server. Anyways, oops, I forgot it. Oh no, I got the elite boss to spawn instead. Now I have to deal with this for the next few minutes. Press the button. Oh. Also, because I put my mic in front of my face, I could barely see my keyboard. Lag. I don't like dealing with elite bosses. I'm just trying to grind for EXP. Like the Celos area doesn't really have people grinding in the maps too much. So like a lot of the maps are like at burning level 10. Oops. Oops. Ah, buttons. Please get this enemy defeated so I don't have to deal with it anymore. Oh right, I forgot about this buff. I couldn't forget the important attacking ones. And I got this one again. I hate that one. Oh, someone else is here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Finally, this is eliminated. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay, there we go. The enemies respawn. Anyways, what was it? Oh yeah, I think it was about to like continue talking about like romance stuff a little bit. And like I'm like thinking about my own series and how where like okay, two of the characters I have, like whenever I get around to like making more progress to my series, because at the moment, thanks to like this movie, I kind of want to make like a little bit of a short like comic related to. Okay, it's not the same characters I'm talking about, but it's like... The first two characters I made were like... It's like kind of a moment where they like... It's hard to say because I just got the idea like... At at some point, like recently. Do you have a series? Yeah, I have a series. Well, it's not done yet, because it's not even 50% done yet. But I do talk about my series a lot. It's something I'm still working on because I want to kind of develop the characters more before I start working on the main stuff. Which I will, like when I reach that point, I will make the comic and post it on Webtoons. Yeah. But again, it'll take a long time because I'm still trying to develop like the characters and get their backstories done. And also have to finish some character designing because I only got like half of the designs finished so far. I think what's really making me like a bit like slow with it is that I have to design rooms, like locations. Because obviously, like I want to describe like what the rooms look like, but it's really hard to do that when you don't really have much of a reference to work on. Do you have any idea why numbers are showing up on my screen when I'm damaging or how to fix the bubbles? What are the bubbles? I have no idea what the bubbles are. Okay, honestly, I have no idea if I could help you with that, because I don't know what that means. Bruce. I don't know what kind of numbers that means. No. Like, if it's talking about, like, the damage stuff, that you're seeing as I fight the enemies, I want to make sure I don't die in the game. Okay, let's go put that on. Let's see. Skill effect transparent, basic numbers. I don't know. I actually don't know. But maybe it's something under like the settings in the game. Okay, had to get more EXP from doing this. Thanks for the follow. I just remind myself I'm supposed to work on my notification updating the look of the notifications. Okay. Received your rewards. Anyways, as I was talking about my series, so yeah, I'm still working on my series. It'll take a long time before I'm even like reveal it because I don't want to announce it yet. Because the thing is, if you announce a series too early, and don't have anything for years, it's like that's not really good marketing. Because it's like people will be like, oh no, when are you gonna actually do this and all that. I think that's like, I mean, that's already happening a few times with some video games. And obviously I'm trying to avoid that by not announcing my series yet. But I am okay with showing the characters because, okay, technically not yet, but I just don't want to reveal them, like, properly until I'm done with half my series. Also, the thing with my series is that I did plan to make... It's obviously going to be a webcomic, like the main series of it. But, the thing with it is that, how do I put this? like, it's obviously not gonna be on the upload schedule. It'll just, like, it'll happen, like, updates will happen whenever I feel like it. But I will try to make a few of them, like, short stories or something for it. So, like, when I post it, there will be, like, I will have, like, some updates over the course of, like, a couple months. Let's see, a lot of projects. Yeah. And also, what kind of keeps me from working on my series is obviously, like, university and other stuff going on. But I really wanted to get to the point that I could actually reveal it. But another thing that makes it, like, kind of difficult is that I'm not the greatest writer. Like, I'm pretty good at, like, writing stories, but it's kind of hard to express, like, the ideas very well. Like, write them better on paper or something. Like, I will have the idea, I have, like, all the plans, like, oh, this is what I want in the story, but then having to write the dialogue and describe the situation, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, what's a good example from one of my characters without... Okay, I don't want to specify, like, the backstories, because of a few reasons. One being that, some of the backstories are very, sensitive of a topic, and others is just, I don't want to spoil it. Not all the backstories are sensitive, though. It's only, like, a few of them. But, like, mainly I just don't want to reveal it, until, like, they're completely done, for example. Okay, maybe not, but I'll figure it out in the future, but... But, like, let's say, like, oh, they've experienced this particular thing in their life, and it's like, okay, now I have to write the timeline of events, and then... Well, yes, the timeline... Okay, the timeline's pretty easy. But then I have to write the scene, like, how it... Like, it playing up, like, the situation playing up to that point, and I'm like, I have no idea how to write this. I would say, like, for at least, like, one character, which I'm kind of working on all the backstories, like, all over the place, because I'm trying to write down my ideas before I forget them. And then I may have tried to write down, like, like, the story part, like, one part of their backstory, and I'm like, I have no idea how to progress this. Like, I would literally sit around for so long trying to write it down, and I'm like, it doesn't sound right. And I know it's probably just better if I just write it and fix it later, but I have a habit of never doing that. It's kind of a, like, just the way I do things. And also, I never really have made a comic before, so this is all, like, gonna be, like, the first time I'm, like, doing comic format. Okay, I just realized that's not kind of related to what I'm talking about, but I'm, like, thinking about, like, the short story that I plan, which is kind of outside of the series, but it's still related to the characters, as in it will explore their character traits. Like, some of their character traits. And, I will be making it into, a little comic that I'll post maybe on Twitter or something. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Yeah, my throat. Anyways, what else? I guess the point being is, like, I'm trying my best to, like, get better with writing so I could be able to, illustrate the story better. And also, given how I'm envisioning my like, how my series, like, how I want my series to go, as well as the characters and their stories, I'm trying my best to, like, make sure it's very good, and, like, there's no, like, unintentional mistakes, like, oh, I have the idea, but it's poorly executed. I want to try my best to make sure it's never poorly executed. Like, there's, like, one backstory I have for a character, like, the more I think about it, the more it's like, I think it's like a very much a challenge to write it. Because they have specific character traits I gave them, which kind of add to their character, obviously. But it's like trying to, what's the word? Trying to convey it is like the hardest part, because it's hard to describe it without spoiling like what it's about, because I don't want to say what it is, since I, you know, again, want to keep it a surprise. It's hard to describe it. Well, one thing, it does kind of have like a bit of a sensitive topic in it, but oh yeah, I should probably also clarify, when I make my series, it's T-rated, so I'm never, like, for these sensitive topics, it's never gonna go beyond like a certain level, because I still want my series to be like accessible by like a teen audience. Oh, I have this thing to do in the game now. Okay, there we go. That was quick. Okay. Okay, there we go. And the burning stages change. That's fine. So I'm only gonna be in this map for 2 hours. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was describing my character. Like, vaguely, actually, because I don't want to spoil. I still want to keep a lot of things about my characters a surprise, but yeah. So yeah, like, I have a character that definitely, like, no other character I've seen in media, like, in other series stories that I've, like, read and all that, or watched. Like, as far as I know, none of them have, like, a character that I am writing here. So it's more difficult for me to, like, write their story because I don't have much of a reference, exactly. But I want to try my best to, like, make their backstory really well done, because it is, like, because the idea I have is definitely not easy to work on. Another thing about it, so another thing I kept thinking about, it's also kind of related to my series, because like a lot of like some of the things in my series are like, definitely some of the things in my series involve like sensitive subjects. And to also point out, when I will release my start releasing my series, I will put the warnings on it. Like, so, like, a few days ago, like, I was thinking about, like, I kind of, like, was thinking about, like, how difficult it must have been for, like, it's kind of so related to voice acting stuff, but, like, how difficult it is for a voice actor to say these, like, negative lines, which obviously aren't something they would say, but the character they're voicing would say. I'm like thinking about, like, when I thought about how difficult it was for them to do that, it made me think about my series, where I will be writing stuff that is, like, it's definitely negative, because I don't want to put so much of that in it. But, like, just the idea of writing, like, something where okay, like, let's say there's a character and they go through some hardships, in their life. And what I'm saying is difficult here is that, characters who, like, okay, obviously, my series is set, like, it's, like, there's the present day and all that in my story. But then there's the backstories, and it's, like, detailing the events of what these characters have gone through, for example. And at least, like, one of them, I think, okay, it's not really... Okay, it's okay for me to say that I have a character who's no longer alive in the present of the story. And they have, like, a close connection with one of the other characters. And obviously in the backstory, I illustrate them alive because, well, yeah. I think all I can say about the characters is that they, like, in the story, they pass away, like, 4 months before the present day. Or at least the start of the present in the series. And writing their backstory and their connection with their best friend, love interest, is not easy. Because, like, because I remind myself that they don't live, like, in the present. And writing their story and, like, what leads to that moment is really painful. So I can understand how, like, for similar examples, like, not just, like, writing, like, how difficult it is to do something like this, but you have to do it because it's part of, like, the story. And I remember, like, when I first, like, wrote, the character... Okay, like, when I first wrote the character's friend/love interest, like, it was before I designed the character, like, fully add more depth of characterization to the character who passed away. And, like, I had this, like, idea. It's like, okay, this is their story. They have a friend that's no longer alive. And, yeah. Basically a lot of other details that I can't really disclose. And then I started working on that character that they were really close to, and the more I add that characterization to them, the more I'm just like, it just hurts because well, yeah, the character's not alive anymore, but yeah. And the more emotional it gets for me because I'm like, And like, sort of at the moment, I have worked on half of their backstory. And the idea with their backstory is that it's gonna kind of be in a journal format writing, like it's told through a journal, sort of. I think that's the idea I have. I don't know. Things are subjected to change over time. But, how else can I put this? Okay, so I have a format, like, which might change in the future, although I kind of still want to keep the idea of a journal. But so, like, the lead up to, like, what happens is just, like, the more I work on this, the more painful it gets. And obviously there's an explanation of what happens to them, because obviously it's going to be in, like, both stories, like, backstories and mentioned in the main story, main series. I'll probably refer to it as main series because the backstories are kind of, like, going to be part of a separate thing. Like, the full details to the backstory. Like, I'm not gonna, like, exclude everything to just the backstory, but, I'm starting to lose my trail of thought, because I'm, like, thinking about so many different things at once, and it's like, my brain. But basically the point being, it's like, yeah, it's like, so... And the point being, it's like, it's pretty tough to write a character that's already, like, passed away in the present of the series. And, the backstory I'm writing so far is, like, it's kind of like they wrote down their thoughts about, like, how they, like, kind of deal with, like... Oh, yeah, I should probably also mention, it has nothing to do with, anything that they've done with themselves. It's an external, like... Not quite external, but it's, like, something, like, it's a illness that they, yeah. Nothing, like, I should probably also mention that, because I feel like, in the future, some people would probably wonder, like, is it, this is, no, it's more like an illness they had. Like, an actual, like, illness, like, and I should probably also point out, I made this character, like, I made these characters, like, worked on them in 2017 and 18, so it has nothing to do with the present day, issues, by the way. How else would I still want to explain this vaguely, how else would I put this? Like, okay, I have my character. No, I did not. How do you put this without saying what the... Okay, basically, I wrote my characters in 2017. It's only this one character that had this, thing. It's like, what did I write for the character? You know, should I... You know, I feel like I should just say it. Like, what they have is, like, I don't know, how do I say... It's a type of cancer, I'll say that. I don't know, I don't know how I would explain, like, what they have, like, on stream, because I don't know if it's okay to say it on Twitch. I think it's fine, but I just don't want to describe too much of the character's backstory. And also, I had to clarify, I made the character in 2018, and that is when I decided what they passed away from. There's a lot of layers to my story. I'll just keep it like that. Anyways, I'm gonna change the subject from that character. The point being, at some point I will, like, reveal these backstories and all that. Oh yeah, I should probably also mention, because I started, like, working on the core of my series back in 2018, like, since. All that stuff about what's going on in present day and all that, like, none of that exists in my story, because if I had to because, well, the main reason is it will require a lot of readjustments to the story, like rewriting what they've gone through in these years. Because the thing is, I did set the story in, like, the sort of distant-ish future. Well, it won't be distant anymore in 2 years, but I set it in, like, 2023, the present. Because one of my characters, I want them to have a Friday the 13th birthday. So, yeah. Like, it's kind of like, just, like, relates to something unluckiness. I don't know. And, yeah. So, yeah, I worked on the series for, like, quite a while, but I keep, like, I'm bad at, like, writing, so that's why it's taking so long. But I kind of want to point out that obviously everything that's been happening since the past year is not gonna happen in the story, because I don't want to go through the effort of rewriting everything. Just to, yeah. It'd be a lot of work. anyways, okay, I think that'll be enough talk about my series. Although, oh yeah, I wanted to... Earlier, I was trying to mention something related to my series where, like, about, like, relationship stuff. There is, gonna be a lot of different kind of relationships in my series. And, recently I did, add a new one in because I kept thinking about, like, I kind of want to do this. Like, and I decided to implement it. And it will, like, tie in more into, like, a character's story and, like, their, trauma and moving past it. I'm not gonna go into details about that because I'm still writing it, and, yeah. It's the character that is, like, that I kind of described as being, like, a really difficult one to write. Because I don't have much of a reference, to use to help me understand and write them better. Anyways, like... Anyways, like, the specific character, like, characters, like, they'll already be official by the president of the story, series. And basically it's like, I think the point I'm trying to make is, like, it's not a quick romance, no love at first sight. It's more like, they meet each other, they spend, like, 3 months getting to know each other, and then, like, after a while longer, they start dating. I think that's what I've been trying to say, like, earlier, but it was, like, but then I got sidetracked. Anyways, I think that'll be all I'll discuss about my series because I don't want to go into too much detail. Although I can continue talking about the short story I plan to make into a comic. Oh yeah, and a bit, because I got, like, inspired, let's say that, by, a movie I watched. Okay, it's not the same kind of thing, but it does, like, kind of focus more on, like, the specifics of, like, my character's relationship with each other. And, I do a lot of damage already with this, thing. What is the damage value I need to get to the critical damage score? And I probably don't want to know, because I'll probably require a lot of readjustments to equipment. Anyway, speaking of which, like this, so, as I was saying, the short story, basically I got a bit inspired, and, it's not gonna be, okay, it'll still be connected to the series, but it's more like not set in the main part of the series, because, the short story is kind of like two of my characters, like, 4 years after the start of the main series, so they're like, actually, not exactly 4 years. It's more like after their birthday, their 20th birthdays, so. And it's kind of like, I want to make it because I kind of got inspired, and it's going to explore, like, some of their character traits. And I can't wait to get to work on it because it'll serve as good practice for writing webcomics. I mean, creating a comic, because I have very little experience with making comic format. So, like, I'm, like, very, like, I could definitely use, like, short story as a good practice to making a webcomic, like, format. But first, of course, I'm writing the script, so, yeah. Well, obviously I'm not gonna draw it, like, without much thought, so. I'm supposed to go into portal. Also trying to loot all the money. I'm already at 11% EXP. And also after this, I will take a short 2-minute break. And then continue grinding afterwards. And yes, it'll be sad to like break my combo, but that's fine because I'm not trying to get 9999 on stream or anything. Okay. Oops. I love the EXP I'm getting. It'll take... Actually, I've gotten quite a lot of EXP, and it's only been like an hour. It's like it takes about like an hour to get 5% of EXP, even with doing these things on the side. Okay, so let's go to this map. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick break, so I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, I returned. Let's go back to a map. We're gonna change it up this time, so we could get one with 100% burning stage. Okay, get in the portal! Why does the game do that to me? It has to be a small map, because, obviously, it's easier to deal with small maps. Okay, this is still a good map. Okay. I don't like these. I wish they could remove monster life from this game because it's so useless. And I hate having to see these stupid letters drop on the ground because of the thing. I'll deal with looting it this time. Okay, let's go do this again. Anyways, is there anything else I want to talk about today? I just keep thinking about webcomics a little bit, I guess. I was about to say something, but I'm like, today? I kind of said it already yesterday, but like how I'm like one of the stories I read, I don't want to specify anything because of spoilers, but like in like what's going on in the story is like it's really making me think about this a webcomic I read called Unordinary, where there was a moment where, okay, I said all this in my previous stream, but I'll kind of keep it short this time. Like in Unordinary, which is a webcomic on Webtoons, there's like, one of the chapters has, like, this character where she actually has to fight her, friend to get through to him from his, like, pull him out of the brink, where he, you know, he's pretty destructive in this part of the story. And as someone reading the story, I agree with a lot of people who are like, I'm not sure how to feel about this character. But it's understandable because they were likable initially, but then things happen and they start changing for the worse. And it's part of the story, by the way. I mean, it's not like, oh, we don't like this character anymore. No, it actually is part of their characterization. And basically that whole chapter where, like, she basically does that, like, fights to get through to him. It's making me really think about this other series, which I can't specify because spoilers, that I think the same thing's gonna happen and it will succeed, just like in this webcomic I read. And yeah, that's pretty much the short of it, without explaining too much. I would talk about it, but I don't want to specify it, and I want to respect the people who obviously don't read it because they rather see the adaptation of it instead. Else. And also, speaking of which, there is a series where obviously I do ship characters together, but of course within reason, and obviously, and also to note, obviously these are fictional characters, not real people. Never ship real people together, it's creepy. But for like this series, obviously fictional characters, I've been thinking about it a little bit, and I feel like since why is there 2 portals? Oh, anyways, I've been thinking about it a little bit recently, and how okay, I will say that when I started getting into the series, I was quite the multi-shipper. Like, I just like a number of pairings and stuff. Like, no exact preference whatsoever. Obviously within reason, because don't make it weird or messed up or anything. And I will say that since last year, since more of the story happened and all that, I actually started to like one ship a lot more because of the connections have been more like stronger in the story, and naturally, it's gotten me emotional a few times. So, yeah. It's hard to specify it because I don't want to talk about shipping too much since, you know, people... You know how people can get. But yeah. I've just been thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, I've been starting to like this more. Recently. Well, recent as in last year, but it's still technically recent, I guess. And also related to the series, outside of all that, I really love the character development this one character has gone through. Like, I still remember that, like, at the start, I will say I was kind of like everyone else, where I'm like, I'm not sure how to feel about this person. But as the story kept going, I really started to appreciate the character a lot. And they've gone through quite a lot of... They've gotten through really nice character development. And also for, like, people, like, seeing the, anime adaptation, I could, like, obviously, which is, like, behind on the story. Which makes sense, because, you know, if the anime catches up to the manga, it's, you know, not good. And I still remember when, like, the anime didn't really cover the characterization stuff yet. I mean, the character development parts yet. And I remember people being like, like not sure about the character, basically. And then, but then obviously manga readers are different. But I think the most important thing is that I like seeing it in the seeing these character development moments in the anime, because it like for the anime only watchers, like being able to experience that this character has gone through this character development, and yeah, like are like having a different like view the character like differently, you know. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but like, yeah. Obviously the manga has a lot of it, but of course I won't spoil it. Not gonna spoil any moments. In fact, I kind of forgot some things in the manga, but I think like the character development stuff is like, and major events is what I remember the most. Small details like, oh, the character says this, it's complete, it does not, like, it completely jumps over my head. Because it's been so long. I will say there's definitely like, in the recent stuff in the manga, I really cannot wait until it's in the anime. But it'll probably be at least like next year or the year after. Depending on how things go in progression. It depends. I know one thing is definitely going to be an adaptation next year, I think. But as for the rest of these other moments, I'm not sure, because it depends on how much you're able to cover per episode. I can still remember, like, when I read the manga, started reading the manga, like, there was, like, one moment where, like, in the manga, I was like, oh my gosh, if this gets adapted, I'm gonna just laugh. Because it's so ridiculous of a moment. I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait till this is in the adaptation. And I think I kind of was thinking like it was gonna be like not in the. Okay, when I read it, I knew it wasn't gonna be in season 3. Yeah, it did happen. It's like the moments in season 4. I think I personally didn't think it was going to happen in Season 4 because I thought the arc that Season 4 covered was going to take up the whole season. But it didn't, and it managed to, like, wrap it up really well. So... I figured it out. Okay. Whatever that was about. It says, anyways, as I was saying, oh yeah, and also for the current season of this anime, I really like how, it's like, we got to see, like, this, oh yeah, I think I should specify which, series I'm talking about now, because I just realized I never said the name. The series I'm talking about is My Hero Academia, obviously one of the popular ones, going on right now. I'm being vague about talking about it because I read the manga, but I know there's so many people out there that only watch the anime, so I'm doing my best to never talk about the manga in detail. At least, like, the stuff in the manga that has yet to be adapted in the anime. I am keeping it as big as possible for all the anime-only watchers. I got my throat. Ah. Yeah, my throat just started to dry up right there. Anyways, I want to keep it as vague as possible when talking about the manga because I want to respect all the anime-only watchers. And, yeah. Also, speaking of which, I do know that a good number of the voice actors do also read the manga, but not all of them. Only, like, a select few read the manga, while the rest actually have no idea what's going to happen. Which Which is fine, because that makes it more interesting for them when they get to have to voice those, like, scenes. And be like, whoa, this is happening. I don't know how many voice actors read the manga, though. Well, I mean, my voice actors mainly mean among the English voice actors, because I obviously don't know the Japanese voice actors, like, situation. Yeah. Also, speaking of which, one of the English voice actors in, MHA, voiced in a movie that I watched, on Saturday. And I like them. It's kind of hard to say this, but I also want to mention it's not the first time they voiced like a, anyways, let me go finish this. How do I put this? Like, not the first time they voiced a queer character, I think, in a series. Because I know one of the characters they voiced, in a different series, is, okay, I failed that. Voiced, a queer character, And that series in question is Seraph of the End. Okay, at the time, it wasn't, when the anime happened, it wasn't confirmed. More like heavily implied. But in one of the manga chapters that was released last year, it pretty much confirmed it, there. And there were some people be like, oh, but it probably doesn't mean it in that way. I saw the original translation and someone deciphering it, and it is meant in the romantic context. At least in the context of they're not just a friend or someone they saw as like platonically. It's meant in the romantic implication. And yeah. Of course, it's only in the manga because the anime only covers the first 40-ish chapters of the manga, while the rest of it is not, because it's a monthly update series, which means it's not updated frequently. And also, for being a monthly update manga, it's really hard for a lot of characters to appear. Because, it's understandable, because when it's a monthly update manga, it's kind of hard to, cover, all the bases of, what's happening, with other characters, because there's so much going on. Which is fine. I still enjoy Seraph of the End, because I really cherish that, series, so much. And I've been into the series, reading it. I've been reading this manga since 2016. Although I will say it was only last year that I started reading it online, so now I'm completely caught up with it. And also, whenever we talk about that chapter where a confirmation of the character's feelings for someone happened, it's a sad chapter though, because something else also happens to them in that chapter, and I'm I cannot forget how it made me cry. I cried so much from it, in fact, because the chapter before it, things happened and it ended up being really sad, and a lot of people were like, please don't let this happen to them. And in fact, if the bots play normally on desktop, because for some reason some of my older bots don't work on desktop, I don't know why, But like, if anyone watches my older videos from that point, like April 2020, there were, like, I mentioned a lot on my streams where I'm like, oh, I hope this doesn't happen in in the next chapter. And, well, the next chapter happens, and nothing happy. It's just very sad. And on that day, I just sat in my chair crying. I had no idea what to do. I was, like, in so much emotional pain from that story that I was like, why? Why did this happen? No. Of course, and also the creators thought it was a good idea to make him confess in that moment, and it's like, that makes it even more painful. But yeah, it makes it more painful, and I can't forget my reaction. I think it's like, it sticks to me so much because, like, my reaction, because it's one that I haven't had in quite a while. I think what made my reaction so much stronger was I decided to finally read all the chapters again before that one came out. And it was painful. Because I was so... Oh, I forgot to put the buff on. Because as I was reading it, as I was reading the I keep forgetting what I want to say. Like, as I was reading the chapters, wait, was it? Oh yeah, okay, basically I read all the chapters again to prepare myself for the chapter, which at the time it was released on May 1st, 2020. I read all the chapters prior to that again, which didn't help because I had to read chapter 89 again. And I started crying so much from that one, as, like, when I read it again, because I reread previous chapters, and it was like, it was so much emotionally, and what is this? Oh, it's like twin, I don't know. Anyways. Anyways, like, yeah, when I read the chapters again, like, chapter 89 became even more painful. And I was like, and then after I caught up with it again, I was like, praying, like, please, please don't do this. Please, please, give me happiness, please. There was none. There was no happiness. And then the chapter, I read it, and then I just cried. I just sat in my chair crying for, like, half an hour because it was so heartbreaking. And, like, obviously that chapter has affected so many fans, because I've seen a lot of feedback from that chapter when it was released. Not only because of what the character says, which pretty much confirms that, like, he is in love with his childhood friend, like, actually has, like, romantic feelings for him. But also what happens in that chapter. But not only that, but that chapter, chapter 90, was released on May 1st. And May 1st is that character's birthday of all days. So imagine, like, I've been feeling so many different emotions that were all related to me being sad on that day. I think what made it worse was just, like, you have this confession happen, but also, like, in this very specific point in time. But also the fact that... And also the fact that, like, the chapter was released on their birthday. Of all times that this chapter was released on, it had to be the character's, like, birthday. And fun fact, according to from what I know, the story, the beginning of the story, like after the 2 time skips, is set in their version of 2020. Because in the year 2020, in Surf at the End, the 2 of the boys, the 2 guys, childhood friends, are 16. And the story does have like a small time skip a bit later. Oh yeah, one of the characters, the other one's, his birthday's in October, and so the story after the 2 time skips, which total 8 years, is set near the end, like in November, December, and to support that, it does snow in so yeah. And then there was a small time skip, so the story is set in its version of 2021 right now, so yeah, there's a bit of a timeline. I do gotta wonder, was it specified what year, like, the story's apocalypse happened in? Because if it was, which I'm assuming it was, basically the thing with Serve the End is, like, the story starts out with this with the majority of the human population being, like, exterminated, basically, from a mysterious disease. And a disease that inflicted... Actually, yeah, it is, like... it afflicted everyone over the age of 13. Like, they're 13 and older. Like, they get afflicted with this, like, mysterious, like, disease. And, by the way, I'm talking about Serve at the End. And this is, like, the beginning of the story. And it's, like, everyone 12 years old and younger survived. Like, they're not affected for some reason. And what I find interesting is that they mention is, like, everyone up to 12 are not affected, as well as the vampires. The vampires are not affected at all either. And how else do I put this? And basically, it's like it's like, from how that is, it's like every character that's born, in the story universe, everyone born past, like, the new era, the century, like, lives. Of course, there are some characters who are, like, exempted, as, like, the story is pretty obvious with that. But, there's obvious story reasons why they lived, so, not gonna get into that. It probably is spoilers, after all this time. Yeah, I hope that explains it. Basically, it gives the idea of what year the story's set in. Like, I think without, like, the story specifying it, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure it was confirmed somewhere. And it kind of gives, yeah. Anyways, the point being, yeah. So, like, yeah, it's like the one series I know of that actually has, like, a specific, like, in-universe year when things happen. Like, an actual timeline of events. Yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say. I don't have much to say about that. Okay, I'm trying to think of what else to talk about, but I can't think of anything. Huh. I'm just training my character. I'm pretty sure the title makes it obvious. I said casual EXP grinding. So, I am grinding for EXP. And about 2 hours now and gain about 8% EXP. Actually, make it 9%. I'm almost at like 14% by this point. Yeah, just a bit of a casual day for me. My throat hurts. Probably from all the talking I've been doing, because I've been talking about a lot of other things. Okay. Right. Anyways, oh, hello there. Anyways, I kind of ran out of things to talk about now. Maybe. I don't know. I would talk about something else, but I'm like, no. I can't speak spoilers on stream. I have like about 19 minutes left in my buffs, so I'll probably end the stream after they expire. I mean, yes, I would talk about that, but it's like, I already talked about it in an older stream. Well, briefly, like, I can't wait to see what else is gonna be new. Like, coming up and all that. Ah, my throat hurts. Oh yeah, there is also something. I also learned that I will be okay. Obviously, I've been taking care of a little dog with, well, my family has been taking care of a little dog, my oldest brother's dog, and for like a few streams, like the dog was heard in the background, and I learned that I think we'll be taking care of him like 2 more times in the next few weeks or something. And that's gonna be fun because the dog will probably be back in my room and barking in the background. Well, hopefully not, because I don't want him to bark in my room, because otherwise he's gonna be picked up in the microphone. I don't know if he was picked up when I did art streams though, because he was barking in the second one I did, and I was like, why is he barking? Although it wasn't in my room that time, so no one really heard a dog, I think. I actually do like the little dog. Okay, technically, I guess in a way, the dog, technically, it is also my dog, I guess. Because my oldest brother owns the dog, so. I don't know how it works. Apparently it is also my dog. But the dog doesn't really live with me, so. Yeah, so at some point, the dog's gonna come back and he'll be in the background again. just remembered next week Genshin's update happens, and I'll get to stream Inazuma update live. I just remember that. Honestly, I just realized it's in a week. But I can't really play it on day one because I have to wait till I stream it. Like, I'm on the stream day, and that'll be Thursday, so... Like, everyone's gonna be checking out the Inazuma content a whole day before I do, so that's gonna be fun. All fun is then I have to avoid spoilers for a whole 24 hours, so can't really like go on like Reddit or anything until I get to play it myself. Now that I remember, so something related to Skate. I still can't believe that. Okay, when I first heard about like this whole like audio drama thing that was audio CD drama CD, whatever it's called. I keep forgetting that one exists, and the thing is, I've heard about it a bit later than most people. But I kept seeing fan art related to this fairy tale related thing, and I'm like, and in my mind, I was like, something, like, this has to be related to something that was officially done, because there's so much fan art of it, and it's no coincidence. And I did learn about, like, the origin of it, which was in a drama CD, I think. And speaking of which, a lot of people really want the drama CD to have an English dub. But as far as I know, drama CDs are not really dubbed in English. I do know there has been one case where the drama CDs were dubbed, but that was like a different series from like the 2000s. And that's like the only time I know that was the case. But yeah, that's like something. And I think in the back of my mind, I still can't believe it's actually a thing because I'm like, I was like, I can't believe this is actually real. I still can't believe it's actually real because it's like something I did not expect to actually be made. Yeah. I will say I'm kind of curious to check it out, but at the same time, like, I'm not so sure I want to check it out because I'm just gonna be like, all like just smiley and flustered from like reading the script of it. Yeah, I really want to talk about a movie so much. But, like, part of the reason I can't really... Well, okay, I already talked about it so many times. But, like, I can't go into details because spoilers, and I don't think I am allowed to say this one thing because TOS, things. Like with, like, Nier Replicant, where I did mention Nier's backstory, which is, like, official backstory, Brother Nier, specifically. But what he's gone through is probably not something I should be saying on stream, so... Yeah, it's kind of a similar thing. The difference is, unlike Nier, this one is more like, just like, related to a happy, more like, just like, a different thing, so... I do want to talk about it. Oh yeah, and also thinking about that part of the movie made me talk about how our voice actors are able to voice, like, these scenes. And making me think about... Really making me think about, like, if I were... Whenever I start voice acting, of course, like, I don't think I would be able to voice anything like that, like, until probably when I'm most comfortable voice acting, and... I don't know. I don't think anyone would get used to it, but... But probably something that I would probably want to have experienced voice acting before I would even, like, before something like that ever possibly happens. I don't know. I would say it's been something that's been stuck in my head. Well, the movie in general has been stuck in my head for days now. Cause it's just so so fluffy, cute, and I like the message it has and all that. And I will say I will watch it again, probably on my 23rd birthday this year, which is in like less than 3 months from now. Because again, I made it a rule where I don't want to re-watch something again so soon because it's still fresh in my mind. Thinking about it. Oh yeah, whenever I keep thinking about it, I keep thinking about these other animes of similar themes. Obviously not the same kind of story, but has like still like LGBT themes in it. And I'm like, I wish those get English dubs so much. Like I keep seeing them on Instagram. Keep seeing posts about it on Instagram. But of course, I'm not like looking into it so much because I actually want to check those animes out, but they don't have English dubs. That, and even if I make an exception to watch them in subtitles, I have no idea where to watch them on. Because I don't think I've seen it like listed in Crunchyroll, like, or heard about it being on Crunchyroll or anything. And obviously, it's not on Funimation. Otherwise, I would already know about it like so much faster, I think. I think I don't know. The point being, I hope they actually get English dubs at some point because I'm so curious about it. I think one of them people really wanted to have an English dub because of the fact that it's actually not even set. The setting is not even in Japan, and it's like how is this not like have an English dub when it has the perfect reason to have one? And that's what I've seen from some comments like a while back. I hope it does get dubs because like I do want to see more like anime with LGBT representation in them. Like, I want to see more of that representation dubbed. It's like it's really nice. Yeah, I was like thinking the same thing. But I don't think it's on Netflix because I don't really see like sub-only stuff on Netflix, like when it comes to anime. Because I think most of the majority of anime's on there, and I did like, when I was at my brother's place like months ago, I did browse Netflix at the time since he had it. And I did not see either of those animes on there. And I haven't seen an announcement for it, so I know for a fact it's not. But it could be on the other one. Yeah. I might make an exception to watch it in subtitles, but I'm like, I wanted to have an English dub so much. And specifically like 2 animes because I actually found out there was another one with LGBT representation as well. That I've heard is really good, and okay, I don't know which one it is, but one of the 2 is also done by the same people that did Stranger by the Shore. The studio, I think. I don't know if it's Creator Studio. I forgot which one. I've heard about it in one of the in a stream Saturday, but I forgot which one they meant. Was it like the animation studio or the creator? it's like one of them. I have forgotten. Yeah. So, more of them need to be dubbed. Ah. Speaking of which, I kind of have plans to watch an anime again at some point, but I had to figure out the good time, because pretty soon I'm going to be watching more animes on Netflix, because I'm going to renew subscription so I could watch them. Yeah, my legs. Oh, this totem's going to expire in a few minutes. I'm already like 15% EXP. I made good progress getting 10% in 2 hours. Yeah, I think I ran out of things to talk about. I'm trying to think of something else. I'm like, nah, I think that's mostly it. I mean, there's Scarlet Nexus, which I've obviously been watching a Let's Play of, but like, there's not too much to talk about since, like, what I'm watching so far, it's not done with the Chapter 8, Phase 8 on Yuita's route. So I'm still watching that part of the story. I have so many windows open. But I will say that there has been, like, the revelations I've seen on Phase 8 of Yuita's route, like, are quite interesting. Like, what I know, like, what I've seen already. I haven't seen the rest of the chapters, so there's still, like, things left to reveal. And I am still being careful with spoilers because I've only seen... I'm still watching Yuita's route, and haven't seen a second of Kasane's route yet. And I'm very curious about her route, and also so far with the revelations on Yuita's, I think I could have a guess of like certain things going on. But again, I don't want to like jump to conclusions because, like, it's nice to have theories, but when I'm wrong, I feel that sense of guilt, like, oh no. I feel so bad thinking about the incorrect things this whole time. But I like how a few of my theories are correct. I will say one of them is now completely debunked, as, like, it seems like there's something going on that's... that leaves many questions. And it would also explain, like, this very start of Yuita's route, as well. Because at the very start, it was very interesting, where it was like... It's like, huh, why is this the case? And also everything that was kind of, like, told in the story, it's like, this is strange. Like, then I started thinking, like, oh, this could be the case. But it turns out, from the recent reveals, it's... probably not the case, but something else is. But I think what's being revealed is quite interesting. Yeah, for the most part, I'm not gonna think too much on theories with Scarlet Nexus and wait until the story itself reveals it. I really do want to see Kasane's route, because it seems like a lot of revelation was made in her story, in her side of the story, that I'm just like very curious on what she learned so much. But of course I'll have to wait until the person I'm watching, or if they don't end up doing her route immediately, like whoever I'll watch her playthrough from. Yeah, I'll have to wait. I don't have a totem anymore now because it expired. Just gonna do a few more like enemy grinding, and then I'll be done for today. So I only wanted to go on for 2 hours with this. I can't wait for Inazuma in Genshin though. It's next week, but I had to wait a whole 24 hours before I actually mess around with the update. So I want to do it on stream. How to make sure I don't activate it though. Because hopefully like for like, I don't know if like the story quest is immediate, but if it is, then I will have to be careful not to activate it. Because I still want to do my dailies. I still want to do my dailies in Genshin, so I will have to like make sure I don't start the story or exploration by accident before the stream. Thankfully, from what I know, for like the daily commissions in Genshin, like if you started the game like having to like pretty much like gone to Liyue, like basically there's a quest from the Adventurers Guild that makes you like access the commissions in Liyue. It's the one word no one pronounces in English correctly because we all like have like a different way of saying it. Like Liyue. Great. I'm stuck in this trap of like the pronunciation. I pronounce it so many times in a specific way, but now I can't even say it. Anyways, from what I know, like like at one point when there was a quest where it's like, oh, visit the Adventurers Guild in Liyue. I think like a similar quest will be for Inazuma, so like I won't be getting Inazuma commissions until that happens, which should be a good thing. So I don't like, you know, accidentally, you know, like when I want to get my primo gems, do the dailies, it doesn't like, I don't, yeah. I think they're changing the daily commission system, I think. I don't know. I don't know too much of the details because it's been a while since they talked about it on a post. Okay, I think that'll be all for today. Grinding. Let me get out of here so I don't perish. Okay, go to this map. Okay, where? Yeah, I'm gonna sit here. And many chairs. Let's get this one open. Okay, that'll be all for today's stream. I spent 2 hours level grinding and talking about a bunch of stuff for, well, 2 hours. A pretty, casual day, I guess. Just talk about things, whatever was on my mind. Kind of a lot of stuff. And I kind of repeated what I said yesterday as well, because, yeah. My next stream will be an art stream, because I don't want to play any more Maplestory on Thursday on the stream. So Thursday will be the next stream. Will be an art one, working on some things. Probably should be working on like things I'll make for notifications. Because I want to update notifications, redo some things that make them a little more fancy-ish. Not really, but I'll update them. And Friday I won't be streaming. Next week will be art stream and or maybe like I don't know if I'll do 2 streams on Monday, like one on Monday and one on Tuesday. It depends. But the 2 streams, Thursday and Friday of next week, will be all Genshin. Maybe if I don't end up exploring the entirety of Inazuma, if that happens. Probably not, because it's a huge region, so it's not gonna be so quick or anything. I'll figure it out when it happens, when the update goes live. It is definitely next week, because how the BP period is that after the BP period ends, it's roughly like at least like 2 days, two to 1.5, whatever, days until the next update. That's how it's been working since I started playing the game. I think. I don't know. I think that's it. So anyway, thank you all for watching. And I'll see you all next time.